Today's topic is how to build a startup in combination with an agency, which brings many advantages. You don't have to use your funds for the startup. You always have enough income. At least it's easier to generate income with an agency than with a startup. Agency, of course, is not as scalable as a startup, but a combination of both of those can remove a lot of headaches, I think. We have guests, Adam and Carmel today, who are experiencing this kind of combination. We will learn which advantages it has and how to succeed in both of those worlds. How did you end up with this combination of having a startup and an agency?
We started out with our agency in about 2019 and start generating some good revenue quite quickly. What we realized with an agency, it didn't feel very scalable. Everyone wants to work with us directly. We realized that long term, we wanted to build a business that was a little bit more scalable so that we were able to hopefully have some more time and not have the pressure of needing to be always working every single day in the business. That was one of the things that really attracted us to building a startup and a software app so that we could build something that could be used by businesses all over the world. We build the software once and it's infinitely scalable. Through our agency, we work with so many different businesses and we constantly come up against problems and we see firsthand what the challenges are and what opportunities are out there.
The spoiler of the whole conversation is our whole motivation behind building the app. We're not quite there yet. There's a whole dip in the middle where you actually have to build it and work alongside in the agency to make it work. That's where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm. There is a lot of potential in solutions built based on first-hand experience on the market. And if you specialize in a certain industry, you are pretty far advanced because you work all day and understand much better what is missing. You can create a very unique product because you understand your target audience. What is your experience in terms of the differences and challenges between those two worlds, agency and startup?
In terms of the work we do with our agency, we are super relationships based. Everything we do is really getting to know our clients and getting to know their goals. Our agency is based around the Shopify platform. We worked with a business in Australia to get their Shopify online store set up, and then they opened a retail space. So we worked with them to get Shopify point of sale set up. And then they said, we've decided to open a coffee shop in our retail space. Can we do that on Shopify or should we look at another platform? We looked and there wasn't a solution for Shopify point of sale. Like if a customer wanted a decaf mocha with 2 sugars on oat milk, the Shopify variant system just couldn't quite handle that. So that's why we built our app, which is POS Cafe. Quickly through searching online and looking at forums, we realized that was a problem that lots of merchants had. That's really been really great, but it's also a little bit tricky being so relationships based and then moving into an app where people self-onboard. All of a sudden, people aren't talking to us because they're just installing the app and it's working. So like emotionally and psychologically, sometimes that's tricky to go from being so involved with our customers to being like, oh, I guess they're having a good experience because they're not writing to us and telling us that they're not having a good experience. I certainly find that little bit of a disconnect between our agency work and our startup work as well.
They are very different businesses, very different business models, and very different mindset that we had to learn to approach both businesses with. Sometimes it can be challenging for me to get into the mindset of the agency work and then completely switching gears to work on the app, splitting my attention and splitting my time between two completely different business models can be challenging as well.
I think what Caramel mentioned, this lack of connection with the users, that's exactly probably the big advantage that you have because you already gained this experience with your agency. You really understand your clients. You have maybe hundreds of interactions with the right target audience. And imagine how difficult it is for people who just create this app without any agency work before that. I feel like you can lose this feeling of that on the other side are humans and you are so focused on the numbers, you see these numbers and you see those bounce rate and click-through rate and how long they stay on the website. You try just to optimize those numbers, but then you realize there is so much more. Even if you convince people to increase those numbers, it doesn't mean they are happy. It doesn't mean it's relevant for them.
One of the things that I learned quickly in the startup is that importance of customer validation. It might be a good idea, but if it's not going to work in a way that makes sense for them, and if they're not willing to pay for it, then what's the point? You can throw a lot of money to create your startup or your software product, but if you don't know your user and how they need to use it and what problem it's solving, then you're starting on the back foot.
What did you learn when you switched from being an agency to also creating this business startup? Which kind of advice could you give to other founders?
I'm not from a software development background, so I think I was naive around how long things take to build. We've been live on the Shopify App Store for about 12 months now. I remember vividly the day we launched thinking, this is it. We've launched. It's just going to happen now. I think that grit and resilience to go, okay, this is just the start. We need to continue building features, understanding our product and a commitment to the product. It's very easy to think, oh, we'll start an app and then we'll suddenly just have all this passive income and it'll be wonderful. There is no easy way. And I think my advice to people is just hang in there. If you believe in your product and you're willing to put in the work, it's worth it. It's very fulfilling, but it's hard work as well.
How many times I've heard this over optimistical view on a business idea, especially for people without any previous experience with entrepreneurs. It makes such a huge change when you talk with people before they start their first venture. And after they start, like after 1 year, then that's so much more grounded, so much less naive.
I think after a year, you're like, yep, I'm still at the start. We've still got a long way to go.
I think that's the most important lesson for any entrepreneur, that it will take quite some time. So prepare to invest a lot of time and to get many setbacks that you didn't predict. If you have this mindset of it will be a marathon, then the chances are higher that you will not give up after 1 year and after not achieving the billionaire status kind of.
I think that marathon mindset is something that I've really struggled with. I remember that moment that we went live and feeling this sense of relief that we'd made it to the top of the mountain, we'd finally launched, and then realizing, no, this is actually just the start of the bottom of the mountain, just getting to like base camp. That's all we had achieved. With agency work, I've always found that really quite easy in the business sense. We're experts in our area, but then with the app side, it's just a totally different type of business. And we realized that our early adopters found ways to break the app that we had never even thought of, which caused huge amounts of stress.
We're really lucky that we've got each other. For solo founders out there, if you're just getting started, my advice is to lean into your network, lean into mentors if you can find them, or just good friends that are willing to listen and hear you out and share the load, share the emotional load and the journey.
That's a really great advice. I experienced it with my own business. I met my business partner in 2009 in Berlin, and I was doing my stuff, and he was really great in IT. I was great in marketing. We realized if you put together our talents, then it can become so much more. We also had so many lows and highs. It made it so much easier because we were together. We could laugh, we could talk, we could motivate each other. Were there moments where you were close to giving up the startup?
100%.
I'm the one who have had many really down times, the really low lows and the occasional high. I would definitely have given up a long time ago. So our startup only exists because of Carmel's belief and determination and encouragement.
Most of the challenges in terms of those times is the financial pressure, working really hard in the agency to pay for our development team as well as our life. It's a juggle. Can we really afford to keep doing this both financially and emotionally? I don't think any founder can ever say, oh, it's been a breeze.
Carmel, how did you find this motivation to even motivate yourself and also motivate Adam?
I really believe in our idea. We haven't created a product that we've then had to go, hey guys, you should use this. We have found a problem that people have gone, gee, I wish I could solve this. And we've gone, well, here, use this. This solves it. The other thing is just, I really love problem solving. I love a merchant saying, I really need it to do this. And us going, yeah, okay, how could we make that work? Shopify doesn't let us do that, but if we did this and then this, we'll make that happen for you. I just love both sides of the business. Like, I really love those relationships we have with merchants.
For me, especially with Shopify, there are so many similar businesses out there. Why do we need to develop certain things over and over for each of those businesses? It's better to develop one really great solution than 1,000 times with a cheap developer without much experience. I think there is a lot of value in your startup.
It's interesting how our value proposition has changed over time, looking at what merchants need and want. Initially, we thought we were just making an app that allowed Shopify merchants to use modifier sets. Over time, we've realized that what people actually want is what Shopify promises, that unified commerce experience. Our app offers the ability to have a cafe that runs on Shopify that reports, that they can use for their reporting and analytics and inventory, all of that targeted marketing, all of that stuff that Shopify promises with unified commerce. Once you realize that's what merchants are seeking, it's really a lot easier to just go, yeah, this is why we're building this product, and create features that align with that goal. I think you're right.
Sometimes I am very motivated to create my own projects, my own brand, and then I have to really force myself to take the time to work for my clients. Do you have this problem, and how do you manage your day-to-day workload between agency and startup?
We have not nailed that perfectly yet. It's a constant running from one fire to the next. We realized early on that we needed to hire a full-time developer to develop the app for us. While that has been challenging to let go of doing all of that ourselves, it's been a blessing because now we have a developer that's experienced in Shopify development, focused full-time on our POS Cafe app. That has allowed us to not be needing to do all of the work on the app. It's not reliant on us 100% to be doing everything. We can spend some time with him in the morning and plan out the day, then focus on the agency work. It's forced us to also start outsourcing a few things with our agency as well. The level that we're working at the moment is not sustainable really long term, but we know that we just need to put our heads down and work really hard with the goal of, as POS Cafe starts to generate more monthly revenue, to take on less agency work. We'd love to eventually get to the stage where we can focus 100% on POS Cafe.
You mentioned one big advantage of this combination of agency and startup, and one disadvantage. It's so great to be able to delegate your work. People who are doing just agency, it can be quite stressful. And the same goes for the startup. I have so many important tasks. On top of that, I had a bunch of even more important tasks. It was a little bit overwhelming certain times. But of course, there is always this progress you don't feel immediately. But if you look back, you see they are so much better than half a year ago. And sometimes you feel like there is not so much progress because you compare, maybe you see it, first of all, on a short term with yesterday, but also compare with your predictions. And then it's, of course, a little bit disappointing, but no one can predict exact how long it will take. How do you choose which kind of features you want to implement?
It's a double-edged sword because on one hand, if our merchants want to use us, but they're currently using Square or Clover or Toast, they can't come over to us until we've got a comparable product. Mm-hmm. They can't go, oh yeah, we'll come over to you. Oh, but you can't do receipt printing. They need that right now, every day, every transaction. Our build of features has been from the start really merchant driven in terms of, okay, what do people in a really busy, profitable cafe, what do they need every day? We have fallen into the trap of going, oh, this one customer's asked for this and they really want it, so we'll build it. And then 2 weeks later, they've uninstalled. And we feel like, why did we do that? Our feature roadmap is pretty solid now.
Try not to get too distracted if just one person asks for something. We try to focus on the things that most people are asking for consistently. And that's what's been guiding us so far.
There's been features that people have asked for along the way that I've gone, why can't we just Adam will go, oh, Shopify doesn't do that. We can't do that with Shopify. And I've gone, why can't we just do this and this and come at it from a completely different angle because I don't know what Shopify can and can't do. And he's gone, oh yeah, that might work if we do it that way. So sometimes not knowing rather than holding us back can actually be really empowering because you go, oh, I just didn't take no for an answer. I thought there's got to be a way, and you make it happen.
The developer's mind is very detailed oriented, and sometimes it's missing the big picture. If developers team create a startup, there is a danger of losing yourself in those small details that don't have that big of an impact on success. Sometimes if you zoom out, you can find much simpler solutions than just develop a complicated thing
100%.
with many blocks and that can fall if you don't maintain it. How do you promote your software solution, your app?
We have not done a lot of marketing. At this point, we have our POS Cafe website, blog, and our App Store listing, all of which we've tried to do as much organic SEO as possible. We have some great relationships among the Shopify retail sales team and have been blessed to be able to do some demos with them and some of their merchants.
We haven't had to do very much marketing initiatives yet because people are already searching for our solution. We haven't wanted to grow too quickly yet because we're still building features and functionality. And it's been really good to have a manageable size of users. If things do break, it's a manageable number of users that it affects so far. We want to make sure that our app is really solid and really robust before we go really hard with the marketing.
That's a really luxurious position you are in, that you discovered a business idea, a niche that you don't have so much competition and that people are really searching for the solution. What I like about your business approach, that you are focusing on a small niche. So you didn't choose just some kind of businesses, but you are focusing on cafes. So it makes everything easier. Also, as an agency, you didn't just say, okay, we are offering some development service, but you double down on e-commerce, especially Shopify. You understand the market really well, like no one else. That reflects in your product and your communication. People will see that you are really specialized in their problems in their industry. If they have the choice between a general solution or a specialized, it's easier to choose the specialized solution.
There has to be a few competitors coming up recently, so that's been another new challenge for us. But in a way, we're thankful to some of those competitors because it has forced us to keep innovating, keep moving as fast as we can.
I think it takes time to get comfortable with knowing what you're good at and knowing what you're not good at. In our agency, at the start, we were frightened to say no, and we've really grown where we're really quite comfortable now to say no. An example is at the moment, we had a number of merchants requesting kitchen display screens. We had an option of building a kitchen display screen integration into our app and thought we could do that, but that's going to take time to get it right. And we've got this list of other features that are really important to merchants. We actually reached out to a business called Fresh KDS, who are an incredible kitchen display screen. And we made the decision that rather than try and build something on the fly, we built an integration with their platform so that our merchants straight away that needed that were going to get a really robust, full-featured experience, but it didn't detract from our plan to build the best features that we needed as well.
That's a really amazing idea, to partner with someone, to refer to some other solutions if it's not your core solution. I've seen it with one of my previous clients. He wanted to create everything from scratch, even solutions that are already existing. The problem is usually it takes much more time and money than they expect. It sometimes feels so expensive to use this partner solution, or it feels risky. I am relying on this other company, but everything has risks. It gives you so much freedom, so many resources to work on your core thing. You have to understand what is so specific about your solution. We are in such a interconnected world. You don't need to invent everything from scratch. It's very difficult to find a niche where you don't have competition. But usually the smaller the niche, the less likely it is that there are big competitors with a lot of money. Bigger competitors with a lot of money are generalists. They don't specialize on a small niche because it's too small for them. And competitors have some advantages. You can learn from them. For example, you can see with specific tools which kind of keywords they are using in ads. You don't need to invent everything yourself. Also, you can check their reviews, and people who are unsatisfied with certain things, with the competitors' solutions, you can double down on them, especially if it's a very common problem among different reviews. The more competitors come to your niche, then you can start to even specialize within your niche and position yourself as something unique. For example, the advantage of so many clients or users, so you can learn which kind of user cases, how they use your software, so that you can see a pattern and say, okay, we have 20% of users that take so much effort, but they don't seem to be very satisfied. But like 50% or 40% of users, they are really happy about your solution. And it seems like it's very easy to solve their problems. So you can say, okay, let's focus on this target audience. And as you mentioned, you are doing it globally. Sometimes, I don't know if you get some bureaucratical issues. I know in Germany and Europe especially, there is such a complicated VAT system. So in some cases, it makes also sense to say, okay, you know what? Those competitors, they should take the European market. They are in Europe or US markets. We will focus on this part of the world. The world is so big. So if you have thousands of potential customers and you have 3 competitors, there is enough room for everyone, I think. Did you do something that you would recommend to avoid or do differently, or some advice that you can give to people in the similar situation, but in an earlier stage?
Be aware that it's a long road ahead. And also really think through what you're doing and think through and have a really good plan your user experience. About 3 or 4 months after we released the app, we decided that we'd gotten the architecture wrong and had to do a big rebuild of how the app was built. And that was a waste of time and resources.
Sometimes I think that's unavoidable because you learn things that you could not have ever thought of or predicted. And it's just by jumping into the deep end and launching something, that's how you get feedback. And sometimes things come up that are unavoidable. The only thing we didn't touch on is the reason why we're funding our startup this way. We have never had experience in the VC world or getting any grants or government funding or anything like that. We've 100% funded everything ourselves. We don't have the experience to compare what it would be like to have VC funding or anything like that. Even though this is a really hard road, the good thing is that Carmel and I have 100% ownership over our startup completely. We're not answerable to anyone else. We're glad that it worked out this way because we still have that full ownership.
Absolutely. For me personally, I also prefer your approach, slow and steady, and tackling one very small specific niche that has still a lot of potential if you don't have to share 90% or more with someone else. I've seen some negative experiences with VCs and business angels. Oftentimes they push you to do things that you don't want. Of course, there are also great VCs, but in general, the risk is high that you get a VC who says, okay, you have this plan, but I want you to expand no matter how much money you are losing. I want to just grow. And you want to fix your bugs before you want to scale. No, we don't have the time. We need numbers. We need KPIs. And you are getting into this cycle of where you don't know what happens after the next 6 months. You have the funding for the next 6 months, and then you have to try to find a lot of money for after this time, for the next 6 months. It's like election with presidents. You're just acquiring new money. And it can be so destructive from your core business. It's not for everyone to be presenting all the time and trying to build a personal brand all the time.
Absolutely.
Would you like to say to our audience to do something, to visit your website, to connect on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. We love connections. We've mentioned that. We love relationships. So reach out to us on LinkedIn if you're interested in learning more about what we do. If there's anything you want to ask us questions about, we're really happy to share what we've learned with other people who are on the journey as well. Of course, please check out POS Cafe. And if you know anyone that it might be beneficial for, let them know about it. That'd be amazing.
Perfect.
That's very generous to offer advice to other entrepreneurs. That's really cool. And to our audience, take that offer because you can learn so much from entrepreneurs in the trenches, not those millionaires who already have all the agencies and 100 employees, but those who are in a similar situation, but maybe 1 or 2 years more advanced in the stage.